Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Return of the King podcast. I'm your humble host, Joe Moreau. And I am doing a quick recap of a podcast I had this morning with Eric Gajewski of TradCatKnight. We had a great conversation about a bunch of different topics, but the main message I went on to do a show to talk about is something I titled The Antidote to the Antichrist. I thought I would share some of that information with all of you here on our YouTube podcast. Once again, really quick, if you're looking to find us on the web, our website is returnoftheking.live. That's where you can find our website with all of our articles and blogs cataloged. You can find us at Patreon at patreon.com/returnoftheking. And we have lots of exclusive content there, exclusive podcasts for our patrons at Patreon. Over roughly 35 some videos now. So I encourage you guys to head over there and check it out. And of course, if you're looking for us on YouTube or Spotify, you would search Return of the King podcast on YouTube here. We have over 100 free videos and podcasts for all of you to listen to. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. We appreciate all of your support. And on Instagram, you can find us at our main handle, Return of the King podcast, or my handle, Joe Moreau, my first and last name, over at Instagram. So I went on Eric's podcast this morning, and we had a great conversation. Talked close to 50 minutes. I've been a frequent guest at TradCatKnight over the years, and we had a really good time. I want to show you a quick screenshot. Here we go. This is his website, tradcatnight.org. But you can see here a special guest podcast for December 12th, Joe Moreau. He titled it No Easy Way Out, and we discussed a whole bunch of topics. And he said exclusive talk with Joe Moreau on false trads, Trump deception, vice and virtue, Lady Guadalupe, Hermeticism, and more. So definitely a lot of different things that we talked about over at his podcast, TradCatKnight. Encourage you guys to support him and go check it out. You have to get behind his paywall to listen to it. The purpose for this one then is just to give you guys a basic recap of what we talked about. Like I'm not going to get into 50 minutes worth of information because we discussed a lot of things. But just a basic recap, so just so you guys have an idea. I called it the antidote to the Antichrist because one of the things I was talking a lot about with Eric, I was saying how in my recent studies of Catholic prophecy, specifically the 9th century Saint Methodius, and also the very well-known mystic Saint Hildegard, I noticed in studying some of their prophecies concerning Christians in the end times, right at the era of the Antichrist, what I noticed was this theme of an attack from the devil on Christians in regards to the vices. Okay. And this is something that I've touched on in videos in the past on our YouTube here. So I want to encourage all of you. Let me show you guys which ones I'm talking about here. Share my screen again. These are our videos right here. And if you come down here on our YouTube channel, right here, the devil's attack on Christians in the end times. Just posted this 3 weeks ago. I'd highly encourage all of you to check out that video. Another one that goes in connection with this little recap is right next to it. 4 weeks ago, total consecration to Jesus and Mary and the apostles of the latter days. And also, too, I encourage all of you to check out our chivalry episode on the Catholic Masculinity Crisis series. That one I posted just a little under 2 weeks ago. So these are some of the videos that we were talking about this morning on TradCatKnight. And the main point being is that, so I told Eric when I was going through the prophecies of Saint Methodius, I came across this, and I talk about this in that episode on the devil's attack on Christians in the end times. But I came across this message. Saint Methodius, the 9th century, said, in the last period, Christians will be ungrateful, lead a sinful life, in pride, vanity, unchastity, frivolity, hatred, avarice, gluttony, and many other vices. The sins of men will stink more than the pestilence before God. Many men will doubt whether the Catholic faith is the true and only saving one, and whether the Jews are perhaps correct when they still expect their Messiah. Many will be the false teachings and resultant bewilderment. The just God will in consequence give Lucifer and all his devil's power to come on earth and tempt his godless creatures. Now, I was making the point that, I was telling Eric, see, what TradCatKnight does with his ministry, Eric's ministry, and then what we do with the Return of the King podcast, we're very good about trying to point out the overriding errors happening today, right, in the spiritual, religious realm and the political realm. We've obviously been very vocal at Return of the King podcast in recent weeks and months of, what we call the Trump deception, and how, Trump, a lot of, good intentioned Catholics are fooled and duped and deceived by the Trump movement. We've said in the past how you look at how many people lined up and got the vaccine because Trump told them to, right? And look how many people went out in droves. Many traditional Catholics went out supporting him, even though he came out fully in support of government-funded IVF and all sorts of other things, his ties to Zionism. So, I mean, obviously we've gotten to a lot into this. So we've been trying to warn people, have your guard up, have your eyes open, because what we're seeing happen on the political realm is a fast track rate to the Antichrist. It's where it's heading. Okay. We're seeing all of that transpire. We're seeing the forces of Freemasonry and Zionism, all these things starting to collide and mesh together. That's one end. Then on the other end, you have what's going on in the spiritual religious church realm, especially since Second Vatican Council. It's become all the more apparent in recent years with the synodal path and Francis's reign in Rome. But we're seeing what's going on now with Catholics being duped into error and compromises with modernism and all sorts of things. So these are topics that we at TradCatKnight podcast talk a lot about, right? And Eric at TradCatKnight talks a lot about. So I was telling Eric, why do we do this? We do this because we're trying to alert people to have their eyes open so that they don't fall prey to the Antichrist when he finally shows up and makes his public physical manifestation. That's why we do that. Okay. A lot of people say, I would never fall for the Antichrist. But again, many people fall into errors of modernism when it comes to issues with the church. Many Catholics have completely abandoned the dogma of no salvation outside the church. And again, on the political side, how many people lined up and got the vaccine because they were told to? So we often have good intentions, right? But we're very quick to fall or sometimes be deceived and not realize it. So that's that. But then I told Eric, so now you have that established, but then you have Catholics who are, let's say, in the know. A lot of our viewers, right, we're turning podcasts, we're in the know. They know what's going on. They see what's happening. Their eyes are opened. I said, what's the devil going to do with those Catholics? Okay. And it's not like the devil just kind of, kicks back and says, well, can't really get to them. No, he comes at us with devices. That's what he's going to try to do. The devil's MO at the end of the day is always very simple. He wants souls to go to hell. That's it. Just so he can continue to mock God. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't care about what means you get to hell. He doesn't care if it's through compromising on your values and your faith and taking a mark of the mark of the beast. He doesn't care if it's through false philosophies and ideologies and false religions. He doesn't care if it's through heresy. And he doesn't care if it's through mortal sin and vice. He just wants you to get to hell. So I was telling Eric, we have to keep our guard up because this is one of the things that St. Methodius talked about. St. Hildegard talked about it, great mystic of the church. She said that in the latter days, right at the precipice of the Antichrist, before he comes on the scene, that you're going to see this rising movement of sin and evil not being really sin and evil and being very acceptable and something I talk a lot about. And in fact, in the Men's Crisis series, the Masculinity Crisis series here at Return of the King, I've talked a lot about how a lot of sins in today's world are very accessible and very acceptable, right? A lot of vices. So we talked a lot about that today. And I was saying that's why we have to keep our guard up. Now, what is the antidote to this plan of the Antichrist and to this plan of the devil? What is the antidote? Well, the antidote is our Blessed Mother, right? It's the Blessed Virgin Mary. And it's specifically consecration to her through the method. I advocate the gold standard is the method of St. Louis de Montfort, the 33-day preparation and the total consecration. Why is that? Because in Genesis 3, she's the one prophesied to crush the head of the devil. And as I record this, today is the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Now, I was telling Eric this morning, I said, do you know that I just recently found this out? The word Guadalupe, Our Lady revealed herself to St. Juan Diego as Saint Mary of Guadalupe. The word Guadalupe phonetically from the original language that St. Juan Diego spoke actually is where we get the phrase, I am the one who crushes the head of Satan. And I didn't know that. But that's what it actually means phonetically from the original language. It ties up and lines up to that phrase. I'm the one who crushes the head of the serpent. That's what Our Lady Guadalupe represents. And this is the woman prophesied of Genesis 3 who's going to, along with her seed, crush the head of the devil. Okay? And St. Louis de Montfort said that one of the ways Our Lady goes about this in the latter days when the Antichrist comes is he said those that are consecrated to the Blessed Mother, to Our Lady, are going to they're going to comprise mighty saints of holiness, some of the greatest saints that history has ever seen. Even compared to the saints of the early days of the martyrs of the early church. And these are going to be those who are consecrated. And he said they will go to battle against the Antichrist. All right. So that's why it's more important than ever that we give ourselves in consecration to Our Lady, and why we keep up with our devotions. I was talking this morning with Eric about Sister Lucia in 1946 told John Haffert of the World Fatima Apostolate that Catholics need to pray the rosary every day, they need to wear their scapular, and they need to be consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. This is the way we frustrate the works and the plans, of the devil. So that is the antidote against the Antichrist. That's the key thing. Now, in talking about that, we also brought up this whole Groyper movement. So I was saying in recent weeks, Nina and I have been looking a lot into this movement and seeing the ins and outs of it and people that support it and what their thoughts are, what they advocate for. And I was telling Eric, you see a lot of degrading, dehumanizing language used of women by Catholics, by Catholic men, because they've lost the virtue of chivalry. Right? That's why Catholic men, I've been saying now for a long time, you have to watch our Catholic Masculinity Crisis series on YouTube. In fact, let me share my screen again really quick just to show you guys this. Where is it? Right here. Okay. If you go to playlists on our YouTube channel, go to playlists, and you're going to go down here to the Masculinity Crisis right here. And if you click on that, you're going to see on the side. You're going to see over here on the side all the episodes cataloged in order. You see, we have something around 13, 14 hours of content, but I encourage men to take advantage of that series. Check it out. It's needed because the Groyper movement is an overreaction to legitimate evils in the world, but it's an overreaction, and the devil's in the details. I've been saying this now for a while. The devil's in the details. And a lot of Catholics get sucked into these movements, just like St. Methodius prophesied was going to happen. And like St. Hildegard prophesied was going to happen. They get sucked in these movements thinking they're doing the right thing. And yet they don't realize that they're compromising literally with the work of the devil. I was telling someone the other day, a guy that was messaging with me back and forth, I said, look, if someone gave you a glass of water and, just said, hey, there's a drop of poison in it, but hey, it's just a drop. Go ahead and drink the water. Are you going to drink it? Of course you're not, because it's going to kill you. That's what movements like this do, the Groyper movement. That's what it does, okay? I want to show you guys really quick a recent post on our Instagram, just to give you guys an idea of some of the work we're trying to look into this or do on this topic. But right here, I posted this the other day. I've been trying for weeks to figure out who can tell me a definition of the term Groyper, the etymology. Where does it come from? What is the origin of the word? And everyone says, well, no one seems to know where it comes from. But I found this one explanation here, first attested to in 2015. A common hypothesis seems to be a blend of goy, which is Gentile, and groper, which is sexual assaulter. And that has to do with the fact that the Groyper movement is claiming to be at battle with feminism, with extreme feminism. And so this is where the sexual assault term comes in. It's meant to be a degrading term towards women. But if you take the word goy and groper, goy, which has to do with the white nationalism part of it, that's how you get Groyper. Now, I've had people messaging me, and they tell me that's not what it means. That's not what it means. And I've said, okay, then fine. You tell me, what does it mean? No one seems to know. No one can give me a different explanation at all. And I'm still open to hearing that, by the way. If someone can let me know, I'd really appreciate it. I'd love to hear a better definition. No one seems to know how to tell me. Okay. But that ought to be a red flag right there of where the term Groyper comes from. Right? That definition alone shows you why Catholics have no part with this term or with that movement whatsoever. Okay, and as you can see, I wrote over here in the caption, when soldiers of Christ find one foot dangling on the wide path, they need to sever all attachments to the world, the flesh, and the devil, and commit wholeheartedly to the narrow path of virtue, sanctity, holiness, modesty, nobility, and chivalry. These are all the elements being attacked by movements such as this one, such as the Groyper movement, okay? We also have up here, I'm not going to go through all the slides, but being a Groyper and an internet troll can send you to hell. And here we go through an expose of some of the things that people in this movement advocate for, okay? And you'll notice we were very careful to block out some of the profanity. It's not sanctifying at all, of course, to promote publicly. It's a public scandal that a lot of people in this movement promote that stuff. But you can find this at our Instagram. This one here is pinned at the top for right now if you want to get some of the ins and outs of our thoughts on this and why it's not sanctifying. But I will tell you, people I've known that have come out of this movement that were previously in it, they've testify to me that, there's a lot of porn addiction in this movement. There's a lot of people that come from broken homes, people that are angry with women, all sorts of things. So I was talking about this morning on Eric's podcast as a way of giving a template, a foundation of, this is just one of the movements that's out there today that's rampant and growing. It's sucking in lots of young, good-intentioned Catholic guys, but guys that are being genuinely deceived. Okay, and that's what St. Methodius talked about. St. Hildegard talked about it, and that's why we need the antidote, which is the Blessed Virgin Mary, because traditional minded Catholics can get sucked into movements like this and advocate for the wrong things. You need to be consecrated to the Blessed Mother, and also to remember, because Our Lady not only crushes the head of Satan, she's also the hammer of heresy, right? So she'll keep you on the narrow path. She will. She'll protect you from traces of modernism. She'll protect you from the deceptions of the devil and the Antichrist. But she's also going to bring about within you the fruit of all the virtues. That's the most important thing. So again, you can check out the full 50-minute podcast at TradCatKnight, TradCatKnight.org with me and Erica Jewski. Go ahead and give support to what he's doing over there. She's doing lots of good work. And this gives you a basic recap of some things I talked about this morning in that podcast, the antidote to the Antichrist. It's one of the main reasons why it's important, especially again today being the feast day of Our Lady Guadalupe. She's the one that smashes the head of the serpent. And St. Louis de Montfort said, if you want to be among the army that goes to battle against the Antichrist, you need to be consecrated to her. And keep that in mind. The devil is very clever. St. Peter tells us in 1 Peter 5, he's like a lion that seeks to devour souls. And like I was saying this morning on Eric's show, if you ever study National Geographic and look at lions and observe their behavior in the wild, they will stalk their prey for days and days. And they'll wait for the right moment, and then they'll pounce on you and devour you and kill you. That's how demons work. It's how the devil works. So you always have to have your guard up in virtue. That's why I've been saying lately, men need a spiritual director, right? And we need to frequent the sacraments while we have access to them, okay? And we need to grow in the virtue of chivalry. So I encourage you, check out our content, here on our YouTube channel. Like I said, check out our Men's Crisis episode 9 on chivalry. I just recently did a reflection on why men need a spiritual director. You can get more about St. Methodius on that video I did on the devil's attack on Christians in the end times. And I put up that whole video detailing what the consecration is all about to St. Louis de Montfort and what he has to say about us going to battle against the Antichrist. So avail yourself of all the content. Like, subscribe, comment, and share this video with others. And thank you, all of you, for your support of Return the King podcast. And please, please continue to keep us in your prayers. God bless all of you.